Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let all rejoice, sin rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea. Sing a song full of the hope that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the present has brought us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Anti-Imperialist America. I'm your host, Dust James, the Marxist Leninist truck driver, come to you live from my humble home in rural North Carolina. Welcome everybody. I ain't done an Anti-Imperialist Live America in a while. Please share this out. Please tell your friends and your grandma there's going to be a good old talk down here at Anti-Imperialist America. Get in the comments. Just tell me who you is, who you watching, where you out, and I'll give you a shout out. You got any relevant questions, put it in there. That song I just sung is called Lift Every Voice and Sing. Anybody catch that game on Sunday? That one, the one a few people was talking about called the Super Bowl. They've been playing that song, Lift Every Voice and Sing, at the Super Bowl for the last few years now. And I think it's a beautiful song with a beautiful history, with a great meaning. And there's a reason why they've been playing that song at the Super Bowl, because of Brother Kaepernick. You go back a few years before they started singing that song, there was a football player named Kaepernick. And this was about the time when the spontaneous revolts against the injustices against our African American brothers and sisters in the street by the police brutality, the police who maintain class and national oppression here to continue the profits of this system. The NFL, sports in general, football in general was made to, the origins of football go back to soldiers sitting around not being ready to get more imperialist wars done. And football has always been tied up with this culture, this imperialist culture, racism with the culture. Brother Kaepernick was like, I ain't going to go down with that. I'm going to come down. They want to use me to support this system that's killing people in the streets. I'm going to stand on one knee, going to put my fist up in the air. And it kind of opened people's eyes up. And the NFL had a crisis. I think a few Super Bowls folks didn't want to watch the Super Bowl, and a bunch of black performers didn't want to even sing at the Super Bowl for a little bit. And I think they tried to come back with it. They tried to do some rehashing. They had to put some virtue signaling out there to try to get folks back into watching the Super Bowl. So they put Lift Every Voice and Sing, known as the Black National Anthem, into the Super Bowl. I think the first year they did it, they put just the black national anthem with the regular national anthem, and they were like, "Oh man, that's too obvious." We're gonna get some fight back from that from the racist, and then or fight back in general, and then this year they put a bunch of other patriotic songs to go along with it in there, and I think the song "Lift Every Voice and Sing" um, really is a song of the Second American Revolution, known as the Civil War, where the coalition based in the industrial North smashed the slave owner revolt in the South and put them down. And this, this change of events, um, not only by Lincoln, who led the coalition, but the abolitionists in the North, the working class people in the North, as well as slave revolts and the turning tide of the war of the Second American Revolution was freed slaves themselves, who came out against their former masters and their pawns, and fought for the Union, led the Union to victory over the slave owning South. And really is a beautiful time. I think it was written around 1900s during Reconstruction, where Reconstruction in the South, where they basically had to reorganize society in the South away from the slave system, and it took the U.S. military to actually enforce that being done. They pulled out prematurely, and black code segregation, kind of took over. But there was this dawning moment where people who had been held in slavery for hundreds of years and had wages stolen away from them for hundreds of years were able to be more full human beings and functioning members of society, and have their own human dignity and expression. And I love the people in America. I love the land here. I hate the imperialist system and the way it was founded, and genocide and slavery. And I love all the people here. And and to see folks not be able to recognize this history, to be able to denounce this history, I see that as assault of the American people as a whole, and I ain't going to stand for it. This gets me into the title of the show, Lift Every Voice, Working Class Critique of the Rage Against the War Machine, and then this is the Anti-Imperialist America show. Lift Every Voice, my critique of the Rage Against the War Machine. The Rage Against the War Machine is a rally that is happening tomorrow that is organized by an interesting group of folks, to say the least. One of their prominent speakers, who is an advocate of this thing called MAGA communism, seems completely absurd. MAGA communism. And this guy has been a pain in my side since I've been doing this YouTubes and what have you. Has been a pain, and I want to show with y'all his response. What was Jason Hinkle, anti-war speaker, response to Lift Every Voice and Sing being played at the Super Bowl? Let me add a screenshot here and show you exactly what his response was. Jackson Hinkle. Imagine the outrage if someone played a white national anthem at the Super Bowl. Yep. And I was outraged by this. And I'm thinking, when did anti-war speakers become more racist than the NFL? It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you know more about this Jackson Hinkle character and the crew he runs with, and you go down this rabbit hole of the organizers behind this rally of Rage Against the War Machine, It gets bleaker and darker and more disgusting as you go along with it. And I think you see the Russian flag behind me. And you can go back and watch the video. I stand with humanity and our ally Russia. So I make no qualms of where I stand in this current debate around the denazification and disarmament of the U.S. proxy state, Nazi-controlled proxy state, and in Ukraine. I make no qualms about where I stand on this issue. So you might be like, "Oh, whoa, are you what are you talking about? Why are you critiquing this anti-war rally out there in D.C.?" And the thing is, I mean, first off, I mean, who the hell has blatantly racist speakers at an anti-war rally? Like, first off, there's that, and then let's get into who these organizers are. Okay, let me. I'm gonna stop sharing that for a minute. I'm gonna get into who these organizers are. Okay, remove. Oh no, I don't want to remove me. I removed that. Okay, let's get into who these organizers are. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Lowry Denny. Jackson Hinkle gave off cues and clues from the get go. He's just gotten more blatant about it. And I think that's right. I mean, Jackson Hinkle is blatantly, openly racist. And he's willing to attack these small concessions that racist nationalist organizations like the NFL are doing. NFL is like, oh shit, we got to redo our brand, give some virtuous signaling. Let's put a civil rights song and a song that is known in the black church and the black community that comes out of the history of struggle, lift every voice and sing. Let's put that song up before the national anthem. The national anthem is kind of national anthem. There's a secret racist verse to the national anthem that specifically goes out towards the racist hatred of the black folks, the slaves that were paid by the British to fight against the American Revolution. There's a very vile, disgusting, racist verse in the national anthem itself. I didn't get into point. Part of the reason why I did Every Voice and Sing is they had an interesting person play the national anthem this year at the Super Bowl, and that was Chris Stapleton. And Chris Stapleton is one of my favorite artists. He is part of the outlaw, underground resurgence of real country music in the country. And a lot of country music, got more rock in the 90s. And by the 2000s, it was just pop music with a twang. And this brother, a few other one of my favorites, Chris Stapleton, Sturgill Simpson, along with Tyler Childress, have been kind of this neoclassical country outlaw movement to get country music back to its working class roots within the oppressed. And a lot of this revival, those three brothers I just named, are three brothers out of Kentucky, part of the heart of Appalachia, which is one of the oppressed regions in the United States. Some of the hardest working, most exploited people are in Appalachia, along with the oppressed nations and in Aslan and the Black Belt South and the conditions that you can't mention class in this country without also mentioning the absolute horrid conditions that our native brothers and sisters are kept in the reservations. But I'm getting on this. I really liked, even though I think that there's a racist verse within the national anthem, and the national anthem has been used to promote unprincipled unity. What do you think about when you think of American patriotism or U.S. jingoist nationalism? Like, I'll be talking with civil rights leaders in my community. I'm in Lee County, North Carolina, named after the horrible um, person who led the slave owners' revolt to keep slavery in the South. Generally Lee, that's the namesake of my county, and they got folks here. You know, I'm in the Black Belt South, and I got civil rights leaders who will be like, they'll be fighting with local racists, and then one of the things is say, oh, we gotta come together as Americans. We gotta come together as Americans, just like we come together in the battlefields in Iraq and Afghanistan, white and black, fighting side by side to defend this country and our liberties. And I think that is a serious manipulation and distortion of who the American people are, the international community here in the United States, what has created the good things and the culture here and the unique way of being here isn't these imperialist wars against other oppressed people and working people trying to live their lives on behalf of Wall Street and the banks. That ain't, these wars ain't where we come together. I would say the international, interracial American community, the international proletariat in the United States, that bond is forged. We work alongside each other on the life and the productive forces, the life-giving energies. What produces wealth in this country is the working people, and the working people that are forced to work side by side for survival. And the culture that came out of that, blues music, jazz music, soul music, country music, the food cultures that, that working people and oppressed people and black folks have been forced to produce, the unique combinations of cultures of people living alongside each other for so long and toiling together, is what creates what is the people of America. And this distortion of saying, if you love your neighborhood, if you love your grandma's cooking, then you got to defend this by going off to fight these bullshit wars for Wall Street. And a lot of folks in that national anthem that Chris Stapleton did, I think, he brought back the blues roots, the blues rock, and that neo traditional country. And here's a good one. Ay caramba. America, the continent. Yeah, that's an interesting question here. If we look at it, America, or the Americas, is two different continents, and it is very, chauvinistic for the people in the United States that call themselves America when they um, when they aren't all of the continents. What is it? What is the name of the United States? What is it? It's like, an empire founded on genocide and slavery. I mean, who are they to say they are America? But in the common dialogue today, in the United States, people, the word America is used to refer to the United States. So I'm trying to speak in the language of the people, and that's what is commonly understood. And I think in some circles within the international community, largely in the imperialist community, America is understood as the United States. But yeah, I think you make a good question. Like, I call this show Anti-Imperialist America because I want to develop the working class and oppressed forces within the belly of the beast to fight against the American empire and take it down from within. But also, I've interviewed revolutionaries, oppressed nations, Chicanos, revolutionary Chicanos. I've interviewed folks from Latin America. And I think I interviewed Brother Ramiro one time, and I put it as anti-imperialist Americas in response to um, in response to that brother thing. And yeah, I agree with you. I think words have different communities, different meanings based on the community in which you're from. There'll be different words. I think that's beautiful. Brother I caramba, comrade I caramba, a mestizaje. Therefore, I hear the word America. I think of the whole continent. I think that's a beautiful way to think about it. Pan Americanism, of how the majority indigenous community has been kept down by the American empire with similar conditions. They need to unite and get their full liberty and national liberation. I think it's a very beautiful concept. Um, but I mean, when you're working within the United States, you gotta, I think, you gotta talk in the way you gotta appeal, use the language of the people, but appeal it in a way that pushes it in a progressive direction, and pushes it towards those material conflicts that in contradictions that exist with the United States, where working people are tired of being exploited. Working people of all colors are tired of being exploited. And our oppressed brothers and sisters in the Black, Chicano, indigenous communities are tired of not being treated and given their full dignity, and are denied who they are and told to assimilate into this unjust American empire. I think all of those contradictions and things are true simultaneously. There's the fight of the workers and broadly against the monopoly capitalist. There's the fight against the oppressed people within the United States against the American empire, and there is the fight of all the oppressed nations around the world against the American empire simultaneously. And I think within those various communities, we need a each one teach one revolutionary educational approach where we're able to do like the Panthers did, which is speak the language of the people, understand, use the dialectic materialism to understand the conditions, and then teach people in their own language from their own communities, and those people go on to teach others in their own language in their own communities to build working class power and the power of the oppressed, to fight against the injustice and make material gains for the people. Now, let's get back over to this thing about the Rage Against the War Machine. Now, I've been in this game for a minute. Maybe I can talk a little bit about. I thought it was interesting. Maybe I'll get back to the national anthem and the Black national anthem at the Super Bowl. And it's interesting. Before Kaepernick, rightly stood against the police brutality. Um, we had, I myself, I mean, I can do a little bit of my story. I am a economic refugee from Northern Appalachia who was forced to move down to the Black Belt South, and I was partly raised by undocumented workers. And I got involved in later. I got involved in the immigrants' rights movement. Got involved in the anti-war movement. I did counter recruitment in my high school against the military, and when I did counter recruitment against the military in my high school, I was also in the marching band. When I was in the marching band, think about this small town in the South in North Carolina on a Friday high school football night, and the marching band goes onto the field, and they're about ready to play the Star Spangled Banner, and there's one baritone bass horn, this big shiny brass horn. And when they go to play the national anthem, I go horns up, and I immediately go horns down, and put my big bass horn down in a visual display that I'm not going along with this jingoist, idiotic notion of super patriotism. That if you love your community, you got to support the war in Iraq. You got to support the war in Afghanistan. You can't question the way in which they're screwing over undocumented workers that work in the factories of the side as they work in the fields. And at 17, I decided that I'm not going to play the Star Spangled Banner my senior year of high school until two conditions are met. They end the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they give immigrant workers the full protections, legal protections and rights of every other worker in this society. And that's what I did. So when later on, when I saw Kaepernick doing that thing where he's like he was also in protest too, I thought it was a beautiful thing. Um, let's keep going on about this. Um, so let's look into this blatantly racist speaker, Jackson Hinkle, speaking at the Rage Against the War Machine rally tomorrow. So who is this organized? This is organized Movement for a People's Party. Movement for a People's Party is a formation that came out of the Bernie Sanders movement. I think Nick Brana and other people around him became dissatisfied with working within the Democratic Party, because we all know the Democratic Party, Sanders, they're a bunch of imperialist sheepdogs that say they're about the people, say they're about healthcare, say they're about this, and then they never get any of the things they want. They say they're about, and then when they lose the primaries, they go and they back rich, imperialist, disgusting people like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. The same people that supported NAFTA, that pushed the Mexican corn belt into absolute poverty, and pushed our immigrant brothers and sisters and workers in our community north to begin with. Clinton's husband, before even racist Trump was called for the wall, the Democratic mayors along the southern border had already put up fences, making it where the economic conditions they created in Latin America and in Mexico, that people were fleeing, and the chaos that the people were fleeing. When they pushed the folks north, they couldn't have safe passage through the cities from the fences that the Democratic mayors put up there, and they were forced to go to unsafe passage in the deserts. And hundreds of thousands of people have died in the deserts on the Mexican American border. And the Democrats are complicit. The Republicans are complicit. We know this. I can talk about this going on. But here's a group of folks that thought like they was going to do something they were naive, they were dumb, they thought they was going to do stuff in the Bernie Sanders camp. They got pushed out, right? And we're going to make this Movement for a People's Party is going to be a new organization. Okay. And this is completely disconnected from the long-standing working class revolutionary movements in this country that I have been a part of. I've been part of the communist movement. I learned about scientific socialism. This is my worldview, my understanding. And these folks, they're going to come out of that. Okay, they're going to make a party. First thing they do, they're not going to talk with the Green Party that already exists, that's already on the ballot. No, they're going to have their own Movement for the People's Party. Okay. And I watched that. Their first so-called convention, and at that convention, the majority of the people, the main speakers they had, were backing Biden, and they had straight up anti-communist gusanos speak at their event. So I'm like, this is supposed to be the party that's going to represent the workers against the capitalists and the imperialist duopoly. So already things are kind of messed up. And we get further into this. A few years ago, I'm not sure if it was a year or so, just recent history. I had a good contact that I worked with. I'm not going to say who it is. We're a bit estranged right now. But I had a good contact that I was doing work with online. I've been doing this, promoting anti-imperialism through my show and on social media. And I met up with a good contact, did some good work with her. And I talked about, hey, she's a Chicana nationalist. And I said, hey, she worked with Movement for a People's Party. And I said, how was that? How did it go? And this comrade said, I experienced, this is Chicana woman that worked with the Movement for a People's Party, became disillusioned with the Bernie-crats. And she goes, I experienced such racism, sexism within the Movement for a People's Party that I had to leave it. And I was like, what? This is when I first started hearing stories like this about Movement for the People's Party. I started to think maybe there's more to this group than I thought there was. And then it came out later. There is a Nick Brana is a classist, racist prick that doesn't care about his volunteers, manipulates them, and he's not even a very effective organizer. I mean, I think he's concerned only about himself. He's called a personality, promoting self promotion, and he has treated his working class, female, black and brown volunteers like shit, not listened to their ideas. They've experienced, I think there's members that have experienced sexual assault underneath Nick Brana's leadership. And this is who it is. Now, I mean, folks who are not familiar with me, I was recently working with an organization led by Caleb Maupin and the Center for Political Innovation. And this organization I worked with for a little bit. I think I was duped. I think I was manipulated into supporting something that I didn't really understand fully what it was. It's another story. There was a youth group in the Centers for Political, and this is another sponsor. This is a sponsor on the list, Center for Political Innovation. Look it up. It is a sponsor of the Rage Against the War Machine rally that's going on tomorrow. And I was involved with CPI, and what I witnessed in that organization, which has close connections with Nick Brana and the Movement for a People's Party. They had a youth group, and young people were put in conditions to live in poverty. One of the young people, a teenager, was started actively getting involved within sex work just to try and pay the bills for this organization. CPI wasn't providing for them, even though they were volunteers. They were, live-in volunteers for this organization, CPI. And the leader of this group, Caleb Maupin, went on to alienate this person, this individual, and then later on hired them himself for sex work. Caleb Maupin. That is who Caleb Maupin is. That is what Caleb Maupin does. And it's absolutely disgusting. And I went to Chicago not too long ago to give a speech. You go on my YouTube, you can see the speech I gave at the CPI demonstration. I mean, the CPI conference out there in Chicagoland. And it's kind of funny. The speech I gave was similar to this: pro working class, pro oppressed people. And, and you can watch the reaction on Maupin's face. He wasn't exactly too pleased with the speech I gave there. But yeah, I noted, and the way I was treated by Caleb Maupin, it was always, he spoke good on YouTube, and he made people feel like, oh, this is the problems with the left. This is how we're going to fix the problems with the left. And you go there and you work with him, and he wasn't organizing within the working class. He wasn't organized. He didn't want to meet in union halls. He wanted to get in posh hotels and have big name speakers come in, film it, put it on YouTube. And Caleb Maupin and his Center for Political, they would reproduce books. Like they produced the Green Book, which is a good book. And it would be Muammar Gaddafi, Green Book, small letters. And then bigger than the name of the title are bigger than the original author because he wrote Caleb Maupin's name would be there. The dude is complete egotistical, self-promoting abuser, right? I mean, and I saw there was signs. There was signs. I think after I gave the speech at Center for Political Innovation in Chicagoland, there was the victims in the youth group reached out to me and they told me what had happened to them, and I was absolutely disgusted. Like there was signs of already clashing heads with this egotist, and yeah, and I'm a worker, and when I see, you know, a working class Haitian trans man get treated like shit, put in conditions of poverty, hired for sex work by this egotist, disgusting manipulator, too far out to promote his own fucking name. I got pissed. I've been standing up for the victims of this fucking monster for the last few months. And when we came out with this statement, Brother Nick of the Flame of Liberation came out with his statement. I've been promoting them, and it's been pretty tough. You know, I was working with this guy for a long time, and for him to betray everyone like this, I should have known it. I was duped, and now, and he went away for a bit, and then he came back with this conclusion. He came back out with this response to the criticisms, and when Caleb Maupin came back out with the response to the criticisms, he showed the young people who did the right thing, who came out against his abuse, and he attacked the people. He attacked the whistleblowers. He attacked Comrade Nick Nick of Flame of Liberation. He attacked the people that he abused. He attacked good comrades like Dakota Lilly, who gave legitimacy to his organization. Brother Dakota Lilly has had close communications with our brothers and sisters in Venezuela. Dakota Lilly runs a podcast with the great sister, anti-war hero Cindy Sheehan. And they put Dakota Maupin, put Dakota Lilly's face up there saying, this is an enemy. This is blah, blah, blah. When he did the right thing and whistleblowed against this Caleb Maupin fucking monster. This is the shit I'm dealing with. And so when he came out back, Maupin comes back out, he doesn't apologize. He doesn't truly apologize. He doesn't admit to exactly what he's been done. And then he attacks the whistleblowers. I mean, that's what I've been through, and I'm sick and I'm tired of it, and it's disgusting. And let's rewind back when I went to go speak at the CPI event in Chicago. When I went to speak at the CPI event in Chicago, there was another speaker there, and his name was Nick Brana. Nick Brana, known as classist, abuser, and other opportunist who leads the movement for a People's Party. You know, and I went down there. I'm a working guy. I went just one day. I you know, I took money out of my own pocket to get a plane ticket. Went down there to speak against racism, to support our brothers and sisters in the Huru movement who have been unjustly attacked by the FBI. And I get there early. I was one of the first people there that day. And and I was there all day. At the end of the day, they said they'd provide me some housing or somewhere to stay that night so I could get on my plane and go back the next day. Well, it's already 10, 11, 12 at night. I am exhausted. I'm a working man. I get up 3 a.m., 6 a.m. They're like, no, you got to come with us to this restaurant, this after party, this restaurant at Denny's at 2 a.m. I get down there to this Denny's at 2 a.m. And here is Caleb Maupin and Nick Brana sitting around at this Denny's. Nick Brana's speech, it was interesting at this Chicagoland conference in CPI Chicago. Um, Instead of talking about building a party, a necessary third party, which he's supposed to be the leader of, this dude gets on the stage and talks about the dangers of AI. So his speech was already throwing me off. I'm like, I don't know. And I've heard rumors about this guy's abuse. I worked with people who told me about this guy's classism and racism against them. And so I'm sitting at this table, tired, been through this ordeal with this conference, and here is Caleb Maupin, Nick Brana sitting at Denny's somewhere outside Chicago at 2 a.m. or something like that. And here they are laughing off and making sexist and racist jokes about the people they abused. This is the lead organizer of the Movement for the People's Party, who is the main force. I know the libertarians are in this as well, but it was definitely the Movement for a People's Party who invited the libertarians to this. The lead organizer of this event tomorrow is a known abuser, classist, racist prick that's out for himself. And one of the main sponsors of this group is another classist, racist abuser that treats working class people like shit, mopping in the CPI. So when I saw this Rage Against the War Machine rally, and I saw the People's Party Movement for the People's Party was involved, I mean, I am against stopping the war. We got to stop World War III. I mean, we got to stop the damn Nazis. We got to be in an alliance with our brothers and sisters in Russia that are stopping the neo-Nazis, the NATO-backed Nazis in Ukraine. Like, I'm all for stopping this war, stopping the millions of dollars, billions of dollars of the money extracted from working people here to go and pay for those neo-Nazis to fight against and destabilize the people of Russia. The Russian government, which is giving fertilizer and seed to the people in Africa to stop the starvation. I'm all about ending this war. But when you got open and known abusers and classists and racists organizing this bullshit, I ain't fucking standing for it. I'm going to let you fucking know. I'm a worker. I'm anti-imperialist. And I think we need movements that are organized by the people we should not be donating to. Building these organizations that are going to treat working class and oppressed people like shit. That's how I feel about it. And, the real event that's going on, this ain't against none of the speakers. I love comrade or sister Cynthia McKinney, Chris Hedges. There's a lot of wonderful people speaking this rally, and they probably didn't know about this. I want to give a shout out to the Saturday Free School, great group of comrades who are in Don DeBar. I love Don DeBar. This ain't nothing against them. But I look at the amount of money that these open, classist, racist cults that abuse working people are getting by manipulating popular sentiments of the war of against the war to promote these kind of organizations. And I don't think we should go out to it. I don't think we should humor it. I think we should call these people out and alienate them and kick them out of anti-war spaces. If we want, if we want to have, I think we need an anti-war movement in this country. And I've been trying to build it for the last 10, 15 years. And I think if we really want to do something sustainable, I noticed the anti-war movement has gone like this. Every time a Democrat is in power, it goes to sleep. I started doing this against the Iraq war, And lots of people came out against the Iraq war. We had thousands in the street. It didn't do nothing. They didn't listen to us. It didn't stop the war. And then when Obama came into office, the anti-war movement went to sleep. And then I saw a little bit of movement again when I started getting back into politics. Um, I started getting back into politics when Trump murdered the general Soleimani, the Iranian general who's been fighting ISIS. You know, I saw people come out. I went to my local anti-war demonstration against the murder of Soleimani. It was led by Democrats, and I went with a sign that said "Arrest Obama, Trump, arrest, um, arrest Bush, Obama, and Trump for war crimes and crimes against humanity." And they were like, "At least this guy's consistent." They were Democratic activists leading the war, anti-war movement. You know, and now we got I think both parties are capable, and now you got this new war. It's a war, and it's not Russia who's in the wrong. It's the purely defensive war on their part. The war is the neo-Nazis funded by the United States against the people of Russia. That's the war. That's the war I'm against. Is the proxies being armed against our allies in Russia, who have stood with the Chinese, stood with Latin America. But I noticed that it had been put to sleep, you know? And now I think we do need to reach out to all kinds of people to be against this war. I think we need as big and a broad of coalition as possible. I think we need working people in mass. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. I think we need to get out there and oppose this war. Everybody hates the banks. Everybody hates the war. Everybody's struggling. But are we really going to build an anti-war movement by donating to corrupt organizations that abuse working class people? No, ain't gonna happen. Let's do this. Let's build the anti-war movement. Let's broaden it, but let's cut these people out of it. You know, the FBI loves the FBI. You're gonna call me upon the FBI for criticizing this? The FBI loves that there's classist, racist abusers representing the anti-war movement. They love that. You know, I'm just one guy. I run this YouTube show. I've been doing it about 2 years. I've been doing different stuff I could to support the movement of working class and oppressed people. You know, and a few bit of friends and contacts I still have. We're going to be organizing around May Day. This isn't a counter rally. This ain't even going to compete with what them folks with money have. But good working folks, we're gonna try to do an anti-imperialist rally down in Florida. Some of my Latin American comrades. We're gonna do a demonstration down in Florida around May 7th. It ain't gonna be as big. I'm gonna speak at it, but it's gonna be real, and it's gonna be working people. I think what's gonna solve this and what's gonna build the movement necessary. What's going to build the movement necessary is going to be rooted within the working class and the oppressed, and it's going to be long term. It's not going to fall and ebb with the Democrats or Republicans. It's going to be from the masses to the masses. That's what I'm about. That's what I'm going to build. I'm glad I was able to warn folks of the trap they were walking into up here in DC. I know there's been tons of money already raised. You know, the Movement for a People Party is a limited liability corporation that doesn't have to say where its funding has come from. I think they sped up. I think Nick Brana and others have set up another legal entity that doesn't have to report where the money is coming from or how that money is used. So don't donate to Movement for the People's Party. Don't donate to CPI. If you see Caleb Maupin's face, run the other fucking direction. Go out to the Answer Coalition rally in March. Contact me about our rally down in Florida coming up in May. Get involved in your community. talk to your neighbors, study scientific socialism. It is really going to help us push through and understand these things so we can be guided in the right direction. And all, as always, brothers and sisters, all power to the people.